Evelyn sat in her favorite chair by the window, the sunlight streaming in and casting warm shadows across the room. She sipped her tea, lost in thought. Her husband, Harry, had always been her best friend, her partner in every sense. They had built a life together, one filled with laughter, dreams, and plans for the future. But now, a shadow loomed over her heart, threatening to unravel everything they had created. It all began a few months ago, during a busy week at work. Evelyn noticed Harry had been coming home late. At first, she told herself it was nothing. He was a dedicated man, and the demands of his job could be overwhelming. But as the weeks passed, the late nights became more frequent. Each time, a tiny seed of doubt planted itself deeper in her mind. One evening, Evelyn decided to wait up for him. She wanted to surprise him with his favorite dinner, spaghetti with homemade sauce. As she stirred the pot, she glanced at the clock. Hours ticked by, and still, there was no sign of Harry. Finally, just after midnight, she heard the front door creak open. "Evelyn, I'm home," he called out, his voice sounding tired but cheerful. "Hey, I made your favorite," she replied, forcing a smile, her heart racing. As they sat at the table, Evelyn studied him closely. There was something different in his demeanor. He seemed distracted, avoiding her gaze. When she asked about his day, he spoke in short sentences, his mind clearly elsewhere. The cheerful dinner she had envisioned felt heavy with unspoken words. After dinner, Harry excused himself, saying he needed to prepare for a meeting. Evelyn felt a pang of disappointment but tried to brush it aside. She wanted to trust him, but that night, as she lay in bed, sleep refused to come. The whispers of doubt echoed in her mind. Days turned into weeks, and the tension grew. Evelyn tried to engage Harry in conversation about their life, their future, but he always seemed distant. He was there physically, but emotionally, he felt miles away. She began to notice small changes. His phone was always face down, and he started taking calls in another room. Each time she asked him about it, he would smile, say it was work-related, and change the subject. One rainy afternoon, as Evelyn was cleaning the living room, she stumbled upon a small piece of paper tucked into a book on the shelf. Curiosity got the better of her, and she pulled it out. It was a receipt from a restaurant, a fancy place she had never been to. The date on the receipt was just a week before their anniversary. Her heart sank. The next few days felt like an endless cycle of worry and suspicion. She found herself imagining the worst. What if Harry was having an affair? The thought gnawed at her, making it hard to focus on anything else. She tried to talk to him about her feelings, but he brushed it off, saying she was being paranoid. Finally, one evening, she decided to confront him. They sat on the couch, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. "Harry, I need to talk to you," Evelyn said, her voice trembling slightly. "Sure, what's on your mind?" he replied, looking at her with a hint of concern. "I've noticed you've been distant lately. You've been coming home late, and I found a receipt from a restaurant." Her voice faltered as tears welled in her eyes. Harry's expression changed instantly. "Evelyn, I can explain," he said, running a hand through his hair. "What's there to explain? Are you seeing someone else?" she asked, her heart pounding in her chest. He hesitated, and in that moment, Evelyn knew. The truth hung in the air like a storm cloud, ready to burst. "I'm not seeing someone else, but," he trailed off, searching for the right words. "But what?" she pressed, desperation creeping into her voice. He sighed deeply, looking away. "I've been going through a rough patch. I felt alone, and I didn't know how to talk to you about it. I made a mistake, Evelyn. I let someone else fill that void." The admission hit her like a punch to the gut. "You had an affair," she whispered, disbelief flooding her mind. "Yes," he said, his voice barely audible. "It was just a few weeks, and I ended it. I never wanted to hurt you, but I was confused and didn't know how to ask for help." Evelyn felt her world crumble. All the moments they had shared, the laughter, the late-night talks, the dreams, now felt tainted. She thought of their wedding vows, the promises they had made to each other. "I can't believe you did this," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Why didn't you talk to me? We could have worked through it together. I thought I could handle it alone," he said, his voice breaking. "I was wrong. I see that now." Silence fell between them, heavy and suffocating. Evelyn's heart felt like a shattered glass, each piece reflecting the hurt and betrayal she felt. She wanted to scream, to cry, to run away from it all. But instead, she just sat there, numb and broken. In the days that followed, Evelyn tried to process the betrayal. Harry was remorseful, apologizing constantly, but each apology felt like salt in her wounds. She struggled to make sense of her emotions, anger, sadness, confusion. They talked more, attempting to understand what had gone wrong. Harry shared his feelings of isolation and inadequacy, while Evelyn opened up about her own struggles with balancing work and home life. As painful as it was, these conversations began to help them see each other as individuals, rather than just partners. Evelyn knew that trust would take time to rebuild. She needed space to heal, to figure out what she truly wanted. One evening, she packed a small bag and decided to stay with her sister for a while. "I think I need some time apart," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I understand," Harry replied, his eyes filled with regret. "I'll be here when you're ready to talk." Being away from Harry was both a relief and a struggle. Evelyn spent her days with her sister, talking, crying, and trying to find clarity. She realized how much she had neglected her own needs, focusing on their relationship while losing sight of herself. After a week, she returned home, her heart heavy but clearer. Harry was waiting for her, looking hopeful yet anxious. "I've been thinking a lot," she said, her voice steady. "I want to work on this, but we need to rebuild our trust. It won't be easy, but I believe we can try. I'll do whatever it takes," he promised, his eyes earnest. They began to rebuild their relationship slowly. They went to couples therapy, learning to communicate openly and honestly. They set aside time for each other, rediscovering the small joys that had brought them together in the first place. As weeks turned into months, Evelyn found herself healing, but the road was not without bumps. There were days when anger bubbled to the surface, moments when old wounds felt fresh again. But through it all, they learned to face their struggles together. One evening, as they sat on the couch watching their favorite show, Evelyn felt a sense of peace wash over her. She looked at Harry, who was laughing at a joke, and for the first time in a long while, she smiled genuinely. "Remember when we used to dream about the future?" she asked, a hint of nostalgia in her voice. "Of course," he replied, turning to her. "I still do. I want to build that future with you." Evelyn took a deep breath. "I want that too, but we have to be honest and open. No more secrets." "Absolutely," Harry agreed, his face earnest. The journey was far from over, but Evelyn felt hopeful. She realized that love could be messy, but it was also resilient. They were learning to navigate their way back to each other, step by step. As the sun set outside, casting golden hues across the room, Evelyn felt a warmth in her heart. Though they had faced darkness, they were beginning to find their way back into the light. Together.